Despite how it looks, you can't make it to the other side of this cave even though there's no visible redstone. But at one specific time in the day, all is revealed. This is the second video in my Vibrant Visuals puzzle series. Don't worry, you can watch the first one straight after this. But first, let's sit back in Minecraft. It feels very good being back on my creative testing world. This is what we worked on in the last video. It's okay, if you've not seen it, you're not really spoiling anything. You can watch it after this one. But at one specific time, 3 o'clock, 3 specific words light up, and only at that time, you then need to take some paper, rename it to these 3 words, throw the paper onto the moss, and then the door will then open up. But on the other side of the door, that was where we left it, because even though that's quite secure, we need another challenge to stop people from getting into whatever's behind this door. And I wanted you guys to decide what the next challenge should be, and you did not disappoint with the ideas, because there's been some amazing ones. One really cool idea was kind of like a pathway, which looks something like this, and then there'll be vibrant visual sun rays and shadows, which will then tell you the correct path to get through, and if you set on the wrong pressure plate, then something goes off, there's a booby trap, I'm not sure. But let's try and create some kind of initial idea. And right now it's currently set to noon, so the sun is directly above, which means all the shadows are kind of like that. And I think this should be by far the easiest way to go about things. And so it's just like a darkened tunnel. And then all that we've got to do is then just scribe a hole in the ceiling. And it's really, I think it's that simple. We can see exactly what is the correct path. And then of course, if I was to turn on daylight cycle or just simply move the daytime, you can see that it becomes completely jumbled up. And then if you try and follow it, you'll then just set off the trap. I mean, there is one obvious, really obvious downfall, which is the fact you could just look up and then just follow the correct path above. That's definitely an oversight. So I've removed the roof just now. We need a block which can allow the path to be shown, but the player can't see it. That is going to be tricky. We could use that sort of glass layer technique where if you've got black and grey glass, so just fill all that in. And then I'm sure you've seen this technique before. It's actually turning into a bit of a mirror. That's quite cool. But I'm sure you've seen this technique before, like I said. And then it's basically just going to make it so I think light should still travel through because it is glass, but it will be you can't even see the bottom now. I mean, look at that. You cannot see anything through that. And so if we look up, wow. Okay, that is crazy. Yeah, or you can see the sun really easily. Oh, why can you see the sun so well? I assume if I was to just get some black concrete, and then if I was to section off where the path should be, so you can see the path down there, but you can also see the path really easily. Okay, that's really annoying. I actually just remembered something from a recent video that I made, where I'm trying to make a copper golem factory, and it's to do with the fact that chests are not like other blocks. You see, if I was to just start placing some chests in up here, you can see that it creates a shadow, but the chests actually disappear when you're not looking at them, which means the shadow then disappears and you can't see through it. So if I was to just fill this all in with chests, we can then just place our blocks above, and now you can't really see the path, but you can when you're looking down. Okay, that is great. And then when you try and look up to guess where you're meant to go, when you can see slightly through them. Okay, that's maybe not the best either. Is there some kind of block which is thin? We could use fences and we place them like that, but they kind of join together and you can definitely see that through. Yeah. Okay, maybe not fences either. Something that's thin and something that doesn't join. Bamboo would be perfect, but you can't place that on top of chest, obviously. The lightning rod, might be able to see that because it's so tall, but if we're to place that, you can see it's creating a shadow on the chest, which is good. That's a good sign. And if it's creating a shadow on the chest, then it's going to create a shadow underneath the chest as well. Look at that. And you've just got to follow the dotted lines. You cannot see them. Okay, so you follow the dotted lines, and then that's you through. You can't see them at all. When you look up, you can't see it because it's the chest. That was too easy. I mean, I don't really like the look of the chests, and it's kind of just like, why is the chest up there? Considering we're trying to make it like a cave theme. Okay, maybe this isn't the way to go. Something you've got to remember with vibrant visuals and just shadows in general is the fact that it's all just one big illusion. Because if you look at my shadow there, I'm going to have it where it looks like my shadow is resting on the bottom of that block. But then if I was to fly really far up, I mean, look how far away I am. The shadow is still in the exact same place. So even though I'm really far away and now I'm really close, they look exactly the same. And so knowing that, let's go and set a block right here. So you can see that there. In fact, let's get some pressure plates in first. And so this is our cave again. And you know what? We'll even get some stairs and slabs out as well, because they make all the difference. And now let's just try and follow this. So again, we can try and go, let's just go like that. And then that's just kind of like that part there. And then we can have it come out. We can then go back to here, set another block there. From the ground, they look like they're connected, even though they're nowhere near. And so that means if you're to go and try and cross this, that does not, you're completely bamboozled because it doesn't mean anything. And so we can just kind of continue that upwards all the way along, and we can move down here as well. And so now when we're looking at it on the ground, you can see there's a clear path, but looking up, I mean, that means nothing. I mean, how are you meant to try and decipher that translates to that? And again, if we were to add maybe 1,000 to the time, it's completely jumbled up. If we go 1,000 the other way, again, completely jumbled up. That's good to know. And then at the specific time, all of the path is visible, and then you can cross to the other side. That is our first working prototype. And so having created two sort of different designs and ways of doing this, I think it's now time to work on the final design. Now in the last video, to tell the user which time they had to go for, we basically used the sundial which I came up with. There's another video on that as well if you want to watch that. But I was reading some really great comments about different ways you could tell the user, and one that I really liked was if the sun is shining perfectly on this block, then the user knows it's time to go. And I think we could do that really quite simply, kind of like that, and then we're just trying to build up this sort of cave theme. And so it's turned into something like this, where I've got this kind of cave shape. This is the entrance, which is up there, so this is where the pistons will move out of the way, and you can see that I've created this little tunnel which goes up and it lights up perfectly as well. And then at any other time in the day, you can see that the amethyst is not lit up. It's only at that one specific point, which means we could have a little sort of riddle which says, you know, when the amethyst is lit up, then you have to go. But it's really quite cool just kind of playing around with this. I'll open this all up so you can see. It's all about just going up blocks and then placing a block and then realizing that that blocks out the sun, so you remove it and then you try it again, and then that blocks out. And then I've kind of left out this little space here, and then this is going to be sort of the path that we're going to try and cross. I don't know what we're going to do with the pressure plates, because that's going to be quite annoying. I'm not the best with redstone. What I've kind of got in my head, because it'll be a stone floor, this will be really hard to see, and so we can just have pressure plates like that, and then underneath it there'll then be some redstone dust as well, which will then just power the sort of circuit to say you've messed up. It'd be good if there's a way that we could just somehow detect the players there without using pressure plates. If we were to get an observer, I'm pretty sure this works. We're able to get string as well. And then we kind of have observers all on the floor. And then string, and then that powers redstone. I think that works. Where, yeah, so you can see that could detect a player, but I mean, it doesn't look very good. It's not like a cave. We could try and cover it up with carpet, and so then if that was on top as well, now the string's gone, so that wouldn't work. Is there really no redstone component that would just trigger when a player walks on it? Is that really not a thing? It's not looking like it. I mean, we could, does the redstone, or does that not, if we were to place that down and that triggers it, does that work when someone walks on it though? Does that work? I know it works when you mine it. Does that? Oh, it does. If this gives out a signal, then that would just be perfect. Okay, I think we may have found the way to do this. Surely that will work. So we're to walk on that. Look at that. That is perfect, and the particles look really cool as well. And so with that discovery, this little cave is now coming together quite quickly. You can see I've built up this side as well, and then I've got just this massive floor of redstone, which means we can then start trying to design the path, which again, I think should be easier said than done. So let's just set some red concrete, and in fact, maybe we should use stairs instead, and then that could be kind of what builds the path. And so, yeah, if we want this to be as challenging as possible, we're going to be needing to take advantage of all these blocks, and so that means it might be easier trying to do it something like this, where we use light to tell you what not to step on. Does that make sense? So right now it's currently in shadow, but we were to replace this with air and then just build around it. So we figure out where the path is, we then replace it with air, and then we build around it. We replace it with glass so we know where it was. I think that might be the best course of action. Okay, so I've came up with something like that. You can see the path is very clear, and I've given quite a lot of room for error. I think that's the best thing you can do. And so now what we can do is we can replace everything which is currently lit up with stone. And like I said, we are going to give quite a lot of leeway and just room for error, because you've got to remember that the sun is going to be moving when people are crossing this, and you really do not want this to be too hard. And so right now it's very clear what the path is, but we're going to replace that with moss carpet on top, so it just looks completely ordinary. And then this will be in a cave. It will be dark. There'll be no way of knowing that this is, you know, like this. And then up here you can see this is the actual path, which just looks like just a random assortment of blocks, especially from here, when in reality it's the entire pathway. Something which I am going to do is I'm going to copy that, and you can actually turn on that on settings on Bedrock Edition. It's very useful. And I'm basically going to replace all of the stone blocks with red concrete, and then all of the slabs will then get replaced with yellow concrete, and then orange concrete will replace the stairs. And then it's not exact because we replaced stairs with full blocks and slabs as well. It's not exact, but it still looks pretty good. Maybe we should have replaced these with stained glass. I'm basically just going to go like this and just try and figure out a general shape of things which aren't overlapping. This is going to be so tricky. Okay, this is insane looking. You can see that I did just that. I've replaced all of the concrete with glass. And you can see that the path is now made out of shadow, whereas before it was made out of light. I've basically inverted everything. It's not fixed, it's not finished. You can see, I don't know how I missed that, but it's coming together. And then I've even marked out where the top surface would be, because again, that's kind of what we went for in the last video, where it's kind of matching the cliff face, which is in my survival world. And then I'm going to have this kind of like the mountain, which is in my survival world as well. I think what we'll do just now is quickly get some observers in, just reading the redstone underneath. And it's actually really quite straightforward to do and really straightforward to wire up as well. And so it's now wired to this dispenser here, which we can then use, again, if we were to follow this path, but we misstep, we should see the particles appear. There we go. And then of course that could trigger some kind of trap, or we could even have it where the door on this end just shuts. I'm not exactly sure. Take a look at this area now. This looks so cool. I've removed the little amethyst from up there, and now just look how vibrant that is. I mean, even as it just goes down as well, it's really just quite impressive. And then look at the path as well. You can see I've just spent a lot of time trying to build this up. This is really quite difficult. I've left this little area here because I imagine that we're going to get some pistons out and kind of have like a big door right here. Something like that. I'm not exactly sure. That is the cave now complete. Look at this. It is just so clear. I mean, look at those rays as well. Yeah, this took a lot of time. I've kind of moved the door over ever so slightly. It's still all enclosed. It's looking quite good. I think now is the time to finally remove all this glass. Now, I would quite like a way to make this sort of darker, because there's a lot of light coming in. I want the rays still to be there, but it's just, you know, it looks really cool, just the contrast between the shadow and the light there. Whereas when we get down to this side of the cave, it's really just, it's way too lit up down here. So we need something in between. I'm not exactly sure what. So I've just added this moss layer down here just to cover it up. You can really see, again, exactly what I was talking about, where it's really dark here and much lighter there. So I'm wondering if we're to use that trick with the glass, and then we're to use even tinted glass as well. And so I'm going to place that, let's place that there. I'm just going to grab those coordinates, and we'll come around to this side as well. And we basically just fill it in with black stained glass, replacing air. And so now it does something like that. And we go to this layer, and we use tinted glass instead of black stained glass. And we just kind of follow this pattern like this. It should hopefully look quite cool. Oh, that's the wrong one. Take a look at this. This is exactly what I'm looking for, but for whatever reason, it's just stopped with the light. That is so annoying. It's only showing it down here. I think it's just too, that is so disheartening. So I think we may have to rethink how we do this. Oh, what? Huh? That is weird. Whoa. That is bizarre. So we need a little bit of natural light to then unlock that. That is insane looking. Now, on Bedrock Edition, light does come through stairs. So we could, why don't we just hide little sort of light tunnels like this? Just everywhere. I'll move that into a better location if we need to. We come in here, we seal that back up. Yeah, look at that. And then oh my days, that looks incredible. Who would have thought that natural light in a cave would unlock this? This is incredible looking. So with the cave looking just so cool in here, it's now time to start working on the redstone. And so I'm just thinking, let's reroute, because I've got these repeaters running towards the back where that dispenser is. I'm going to reroute these all the way to the front. And I think we'll have it where this will just be permanently open, because I think that looks really cool, just a gateway. And then if you misstep, then it will shut. And then you'll have to wait for it to reset, or you might have to wait to the next day for it to reset. I'm not exactly sure. But let's just run a wire out here. I think to make it so this is going to stay on no matter what happens. So when this gets activated, it will then push this block over to this side, and then the redstone would be here, and then we need another piston to reset it, so that would be there. So whenever someone missteps on this redstone here, and then down underneath you can see it's now powering this line, and so we can just kind of bring this along and then split it and then power the doors, which should be really just very simple, kind of like this. Build this back down, and now that's the door mechanism hooked up. And then if we want to cross and we misstep, that should just shut. That is perfect. And then that will just stay shut until it's manually reset. Maybe like right here we've got a button, so let's get some kind of stone block, probably chiseled stone right there, and then you have to come back to press the button to reset it. And so it's just one very, very simple line of redstone. If this was any other time of the day, so let's just add 1,000. You can see it's completely jumbled up. Let's just try and run across, and then the door will shut. So now we've got to go over here and then reset it manually. That is so cool. I do think if we were to try and have it where it sort of runs into note blocks, kind of like what we did in the last video, we put gold underneath it, just sounds like that, and then we can put one there as well. And so now how does this sound, where maybe that needs to be one block over, and then if we were to try and reset it, it now sounds like this. That's not bad. We can tinker around with that later on. Something that I have added is just up top. I've just filled this in with water just to try and make it look slightly more natural from above. And you cannot even see the water from underneath. But when you go in here, look at this. So we press the button to reset it. I've changed that so it's slightly nicer now, slightly more in tune. And now you've got to follow the path and then you can leave on the other side. And I genuinely think this is now final. This is complete. But I am really happy with this, which means it's now time to get that connected to this right here. Okay, so here is the copied and cloned both of the two combination locks. They actually look really well together. And of course, you can terraform the terrain up to here. That's what I'm going to do when I put these in my survival world. But let's first of all solve this first puzzle. At 3 o'clock, as we can see on the sundial, there's 3 here as well. There's loads of hints pointing to the number 3. You can see that 3 blocks are going to light up. You can see it goes venture, journey, and then iceberg. And those are the only 3 blocks that are visible at 3 o'clock. So then we take some paper. We can then rename it, throw the paper into the moss, and then this will open up. And now we're in the second challenge, which just looks so simple just now. And now we've got to do a lot of waiting. But that's okay, because take a look at how cool this looks. That is just crazy. I could never get sick at looking at that. That just looks incredible. And it's very self-explanatory. I don't even think we need to have a book which tells you what to do. You just kind of just watch and you just kind of wait, because it just all gets revealed. You can see the light is going to start to come over here. And as soon as this is in full, that's when we need to run. You can see it's starting to light up. The path is starting to combine and just the rays coming down. It's nearly at full. And when it gets to full, that is when we're going to go. Okay, so there we go. That's at full. Let's start to run through. Run over this way as well. We'll jump as well. And then we made it to the other side. I mean, that is just so cool. And again, we'll just quickly mess it up. We'll stand in the wrong place and it shuts. We can't just wait here. We have to then go all the way back to then manually reset it. It is so cool. This has been a really fun couple of videos just messing around with this. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it.